speed to the city streets. We began to feel the fire. We rise like tall buildings as the chemicals, they take us higher. The night's young and it's just begun as she puts her hand in mine. We wanna chase the night, wanna dance to the light, pull stars from the sky, just two hearts running wild. Never sleep, never stop, as we shout from the top. We're gonna be two hearts running wild. Now the morning is the afternoon. We lay awake in bed. It laughs so loud as the hours pass. We're gonna do it all again. We wanna chase the night, wanna dance to the light, pull the stars from the sky, just two hearts running wild. Never sleep, never stop, as we shout from the top. We're gonna be, we're gonna be two hearts running wild.
Good afternoon. Good morning to others. It is 8:14 a.m. Eastern, I believe. It is 2:15 here in the Netherlands, p.m. in the afternoon. And I thought I was going to hang out with you guys and crochet a bit. So here I am. And I see that Hille has joined us and VJ has joined us. Wonderful to see you, ladies. I am curious to see what we can get done today. Susan, good morning to you, my lady. Good morning, good morning. It's going to be a busy week for me. I have a bunch of things to get settled and set up. One thing just before Easter to have things ready. Also have to prepare my workstation. I apparently have an amazing boss because he was like writing me saying, hey, please write down the time you spent setting up that workstation because you know that counts towards your working time. Technically, my contract is first starting on Monday, so that's kind of cool. Like, woohoo! It's going great in that sense. Workstation arrived. I can't not even believe that I have to work with a Mac. I'm not used to working on Mac OS. I'm a Windows lady for years and years and years, but I'm sure that will be fine. I'm used to my iPhone. I'm quite happy with my iPhone, so I'm sure I'll be absolutely happy as well with the Mac. Hopefully. And it is 7:15 Central, according to VJ, which should fit, which means that's like 6:15 Mountain, and it's 5 in the morning for those poor people out there in the Pacifics, California. In Australia, it's afternoon. Well, not afternoon, evening, actually, because it's afternoon in Europe, and some of them are slowly also heading to bed. We have a few options today when it comes to projects to work on. I have my sweet Martine. I have my granny squares, my blocked granny squares here, 8 pieces of them, which I need to sew together before we can start work on the edges. We can do that. We have the Ultimate Sacrifice shawl, which is in this project crate. We can work on that. And we have 2 options for 2 different bucket hats. We have, and they are both going to be made in the Drops Paris, which is like an 8/8 cotton. Oh my goodness, that what far away from my arms. That's a cotton 8/8, which is basically like DK. What's coming after DK? Like 3-weight, 4-weight cotton, somewhere in between. It's probably like a thick 3-weight, thinner 4-weight. Paris. is right here. This is a gorgeous red. It seems a little bit more like dusted red on this, but it is a very strong solid red. They classify them as C group, so it's probably like a 3 weight. There you go, if you want to compare it. And it's 100% cotton, 50 grams, so 1.75 ounces to 75 meters or 82 yards. It comes pretty close, I guess, to like peaches and cream or something similar for the US. I have a red, I have a white, and I have a blue. So what we could start making is the Gabi bucket hat, but in the Dutch colors. So it will be a Dutch colored hat. Um, that's an option. Or we have the option to make a bit of a granny square bucket hat, um, which isn't completely granny squared, but a little bit is it, and it's called Krøllebølle, which is a Danish designer who designed this hat. And that's also with the Paris yarns, where you would have these two as the main colors. You have a darker and a brighter as well that will go through. That would also be an option. And as an alternative, if we just need a quick project, then I am actually currently working on some scrunchies. New yarn that I'm trying out, I think they're actually turning out pretty nice. Um, so, so that is also an option. I have worked with this yarn before, but a thinner edition of the yarn. So that is the kind of the projects we're looking at. The only things I know about Max, instead of control, you use FN. Good to know. Good to know. There's a command button, I've heard. Like, use the command rather than control. So that's probably the FN. I'll see. I'm sure that like my boss also sent me a few coming boss sent me a few YouTube videos I could have a look at and so on. So there's definitely options here. So the real question is what we should work on today. Like, if you have any preferences, we can do whichever. I have the feeling that the Dusty Rose colors for the bucket hat. I'm not sure if I want to do that on a live. That would be the very first time I even attempt this pattern, so I'm not sure how it would work out for me or whatnot. On the other hand, it would be the first time I have to sew on those squares together for the Sweet Martine. The Gabi bucket hat I've made a few times. I almost know the pattern out of my head. The scrunchies is just simple, straightforward. So I guess that's more like if we need something for no thinking. Of course, I do have my yarn spindle as well, just in case, because it works nicer with the yarn spindle. Also, I do have my tea. Today, my tea is the Nijmegen a lovely loose tea blend from the city of Nijmegen, which is not too far from where I live. It's like a 15 minutes bus ride or something like that. And I occasionally go by the tea store and get myself some lovely loose tea because it is absolutely quite nice and fresh. There is cornflowers, um, raisins, and dried pineapples in it. Mm, yum, nice. So yeah, Media says her cousin has a Mac, but it's been a while. Maybe it's command. I believe it's command. That's what I've heard. We'll have to figure it out. But you know, generally, I'm quite positive, and the best thing about my new job is the flexibility I get, which allows me to easy travel back and forth um, between here in the Netherlands and my parents in Denmark. So that is definitely something I'm looking forward to. I had to get a mouse and a sleeve for the MacBook Air myself, and they were like, "Yeah, just buy something and we'll refund it on your next salary." I was like, "Okay, cool." So that's what I did. So the real question is, ladies, what are we gonna do today? Are we gonna work on a shawl? Are we gonna work on a poncho? Or are we gonna work on hats? Let's start there. Should we work on a poncho? Should we work on the shawl? Or should we work on the hats? Because we are going to crochet today. It's all yarn here around me. And I do have too much yarn, so we do need to use up some yarn. So yeah, we need to do something. And the next knitting project I've kind of postponed so far that I think I'll bring it with me to Denmark. That would make sense. So yeah, what should we do? What should we do? Do you have any preferences? Shawl, poncho, bucket hat. Shawl is in progress. That's the ultimate sacrifice shawl. Poncho is also sort of in progress, but I would start by sewing a bunch of squares together. And the bucket hat I would need to start on. That is a brand new thing. We're going to make scrunchies. It will be a brand new scrunchie as well. Susan says bucket hat. Hello, dust bunnies. And thank you so much for your hat. Welcome. Congratulations on my new job. I really need this new job, so that's a really good thing. So Susan says bucket hat. So we are favoring, I would say, the Dutch colored one because it is going to be King's Day soon. Actually, I'll be traveling on King's Day this year. I will be traveling on King's Day this year. Curious on how that's going to work out, but that should be fine. What I did test out with the last I did actually worked out pretty nice in the 4mm hook as well. Let's see what this one. This one recommends a 5mm hook, actually. So I'll probably try 4 and then 4.5 and then see how it works out on the brim. That's what I could do. No other people is having any say. We're all agreeing we should do bucket hats because then I'll do bucket hats. Easy. Absolutely straightforward. Love it. We can always change. If we get bored halfway, we can always change. The benefit of the bucket hat is obvious because that it's easy to do, right? Bucket hat would be fun. Bucket hat it is. And it uses up some yarn. We'll do bucket hat. On the other hand, I do... Yeah, bucket hats are popular. Definitely. This is like a very Dutch colored one that I want to make. I also have some yarns for making like a dusty mauve colored one. But since it's a pattern I'm not super familiar with, I think I'd rather probably try to make that one off screen first before doing it on screen. So I think we'll just head on for the Gabi bucket hat and we'll do the Dutch colored ones. And the Dutch colors makes totally sense because it's less than 3 weeks until it's King's Day. So that would be a logic choice to do. Definitely a logic choice to do. So Paris is the one we are going to work with here. It is blah blah blah. They recommend 5mm needles. They say 50 grams to 1.8 ounces to 75 meters, 82 yards, 100% cotton. It is a nice soft cotton. This is a lot more like real red than it looks on the screen. It seems like the screen here is a little bit, I would say it's like if you see the YouTube icon red, that is the red we're talking about. Like a real red. So I think we'll start by that one then. And then we'll flip the camera around just for you guys to have that pleasure. Let's see, dual camera we have here. We flip over here. So you have me multiplied. And we are gonna see if this works. Should work. I don't know why, but I tend to be in a nice warm blanket. And I don't even know why, because it's not that cold anymore. But here we have it. As I said, I like to work from the outside of the skein, and therefore these yarn spindles are absolutely amazing things. It is the first time I make this bucket hat in this yarn. But the difference between this and the other yarn is like 5 meters per 50 grams. So we should be fine. We should be fine overall. So that is like per 1.75 ounces, it's 7 yards shorter. So we are pretty close, I would say. So I'm expecting us to actually be kind of fine here. So we start by a magic ring. And I picked the 4.5 millimeter hook. The yarn recommends a 5 millimeter. The pattern actually says I need to hook down size, but the thing is, my experience is unfortunately that my tension is tighter than anyone else's tension, so I usually tend or need to up the hook size a bit. So we'll start by the magic ring, and we need to chain one just to kind of lock it in, and then we need to do 10 half double crochets in the magic ring. So we'll start by that. Yeah, it's a 4.5 millimeter. So we'll start by that. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I am actually also short of a stitch marker. We'll need to find one. Let's see. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That matches. There's one stitch marker, but I need one more. Let's see. So Michelle says it's dirty kitchen cotton or garment cotton. I wouldn't call it. It's soft. It's pretty soft for a cotton. So I think this is garment worthy. I would say so. It's not stiff and rough as you sometimes expect with a cotton. This is like if I touch my face with it, I wouldn't feel scratched or anything like that. So I think it's garment friendly. It's a little bit of a thicker garment cotton though, but it is it should work for garments. The benefit, of course, with bucket hats is it's a little bit less important. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yeah. It's a little bit less important. It is important, but it's not as iffy if you don't get like, because it just goes on top, right? But it's a nice cotton. The Drops Paris Unicolor. They also have one in a recycled denim cotton. I should make a review on this Paris yarn at some stage. I might as well do because it's quite okay. It's the first time I sort of like really make a big project of like, but all the times I've touched it is nice, and it's all of them. The blue here is nice as well. So is the white. Like it has a nice feel. So I could definitely personally wear a top in it, and not worry about having something to protect my skin. I would be fine with that. Okay, so we slip stitch and we chain one, and then we need to do 2 half double crochets in each stitch all the way around. I think you would like the Paris from Drops. And if I compare the Paris from Drops to, for example, they have the cotton light, which is a 50% cotton, which is the one I made the granny squares of. And that cotton is stiffer, even though it has polyester in it, where this one feels softer just in comparison. I know my cousin want to knit a sweater or top in this yarn, actually in the blue color, which we have here. She'd love to knit herself a sweater in that. or top. It is like summer top. Um, Another cotton I really like the feeling of, which I wouldn't consider dishcloth cotton, is the Linda Hobby 88. So thickness wise, they are very similar. That will be this cotton. And like if you take these two and combine, these are really nice match too. And I think they could also even nicely work together, these two types of cotton. But if you look at the strands here, they are extremely alike, I would say. Let's see if I can actually get a decent strand up. Get a decent stream as well. But yeah, they're pretty alike. This is though a little bit longer on the yards. It's like 7 yards longer for the same weight. But this is a really nice cotton as well. I would say definitely garment friendly. I would have no issues wearing that as garments. And that, by the way, is the yarn that I have made previous bucket hats in, and that's why I am expecting that this setup would probably also work. But since I haven't used the yarns before, we do need to measure the brim when we get a bit closer. And if I do remember right, the Dutch flag is red, white, and blue, and we start from the top. I should know that, actually. Yes, I'm right. I just wanted to double check. So Michelle says she wants to make a cardigan of her new flowers yarn art cakes. Oh, that sounds nice too. I have so many yarn art or yarn art similar cakes like copy twisters. I need to do something with as well. That is for once I eventually have finished up using the Ultimate Sacrifice shawl. I'll need to find a next project. I also need to consider maybe a project like one of Fred T. Patatli's. She makes so many gorgeous, intricate designs. I'm all in the mood now. So we did 2 stitches around in each stitch, and we're slip stitching into that first stitch. What I do need just to make sure is I always just tend to count the beginning that I didn't miss a stitch. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20 matches. Perfect. I also expected it would, but just to be sure, I really like, I'm really sad I didn't make any bucket hats before I went to New Zealand, because there it would have been absolutely amazing to have a bucket hat. Because in New Zealand they have this hole in the layer of the ozone layer, which makes basically if you go outside without being smeared into what's called sunblock, then you will be like a lobster within 15-20 minutes. It's crazy. Okay, so we chain 1 again, and we do a half double crochet in the first stitch and two half doubles in the next. We do that for the whole round. So half double once, and then we do 2 half doubles. And at the end of this round, we should have 30 stitches, given that I do my math correctly, of course. So yeah, I have plenty of projects on my mind right now. It's crazy, but this is good because these bucket hats, they do use up some skeins, and that is good for my Decrease My Stash project that I'm currently working on as well. Obviously, these yarns are some rather new yarns in my stash. I just bought them like a few weeks ago, so March wasn't a good month for decreasing my stash. My stash, in fact, did increase, so tiny detail on that. But so far, April looks positive. It should be a decrease if I keep up the work. I need 2 more. And then a single, 2 half doubles, and a single and 2 half doubles, and we are all the way around. And yeah, we will definitely need my measuring tape. I have one right here. We will need that in a few rounds so that I can measure the brim, or not the brim, sorry, the crown of the hat, to make sure that the crown is not too big. So that is what I'll be doing. I think I'll make like the standard size, and then depending I'll have a measure as we go through. So that was round 3. Then we are going to do chain 1, and then we do a half double crochet in the first 2 stitches, and then we do 2 half double crochet in the next. So that is the way to increase this round. So we do 1 half double and a second half double in the next stitch, and then in the third stitch we do 2 half doubles in the same stitch, and then that is what we are repeating. 2 following stitches we do a half double in each, and then in the third stitch another 2 half doubles. That, my friends, is how we go around this one. I'm not sure if we will reach to finish this bucket hat, but I think we can try to get it as far as possible. I know we won't be able to finish it because it usually takes a bit longer than just a few hours for me to make. That is probably a combination of me not being the quickest crocheter, but I would say that even though I might not be the speediest, I do generally deliver neat work. That's, I guess, a part of my perfectionist being. But I think that's also come from all the years I've done shooting sports, right? It needs to be perfect because else you won't win. One, 2, 1, 2 in the same, 2 in the 2 following, 2 in the same. I can feel this is slightly thicker than the Linda Hobby 8/8, but it is, I still think it is within reason. Also have some other nice colors in this yarn. But they are for a different project for a different time. Do 1, 2, and then we'll do another. Something is not adding up here. I have a stitch too many. Why is that happening? I made a mistake somewhere. Bucker. 2, 2, 2. Because here somewhere. Ah. I skipped one. Sorry, guys. 2, 2. It's good. That one's good. That one's good. That one needs to be in there. Has 2. I went way too quickly. I guess I don't know if I went all happy talking about all sorts of things or whatever it was, but I would have probably been like a stitch short in the end. But we should be on now. Yeah, that 2, 2, 2. Yep, that looks better. More than welcome to say stop if you see that I make a mistake. This is also why I'm not the quickest crocheter. Then I see a mistake and I frog back so I can fix it. That is me in a nutshell. And I don't think it's the first time on this channel that we have frogged back I don't know how many stitches just for me to fix a stupid tiny mistake. This is also a very gorgeous color, the red for like Danish flag. But the Danish flag is not as easy to crochet in this case. That will be more like color work than this pattern allows. Or I would need to be really creative and do lots of carrying the yarn with me or cutting and sewing, and just the thought of it right now is making me a bit overwhelmed. Like that. We have one more down. And don't forget to drink something. We also have Nightbot here. Nightbot will also tell us a bit about your local weather if you wanted to. You type in weather and your local city or zip code, or state for that matter. As I'm saying, I'm not living too far off Nijmegen, so that is the city I use to compare my weather with, because it's usually reasonably accurate. For the next row, we will have to do a half double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches, and then in the 4th stitch, we'll have to do 2 half doubles. I don't know why it's not providing us the weather for my local city, but the weather for New Jersey, I can tell you, is 40 degrees of Fahrenheit, so that's about 4 degrees Celsius. It is rainy, and the wind is blowing for north-northeast. I hope it's not gonna be too rainy the coming time. 2, 3, and 2 half doubles. It's a bit funny, didn't like my weather command apparently. But I guess that's how it is. I hope everybody also had a good weekend. I had a great weekend, but oh my goodness, I was exhausted last night. And this morning I was just so happy that I could actually sleep a bit. And then I saw that my workstation were going to be delivered by UPS today. And they came early. I had literally just gotten out of shower and grabbed my bathing coat thingy and wrapped it around me and ran down to be able to open the door. So to some extent a bit luck as well, I guess, but yeah, that was sort of surprising. It is my 4.5 millimeter. It feels bigger, but it's because I've worked with a tinier hook the last few days. 3. Yeah, that's true. So Susan says April showers bring May flowers. I will have to say that right now, I will see if I can show this on channel if it allows. I should need to let it turn. But my friends, this is my front garden, and it's not so clear, but tulips. They are blooming. They are blooming. All the white dots that looks like snow is not snow. It is the flower petals of the trees we have standing here in the street. We have like an alley of trees. So my tulips are finally flowering, and that is telling me it's spring and makes me really happy. And it was a really good deal. I think I got those tulips for like €2 or €3 a bag. So I didn't expect much from them, but they look good. I'm happy with them. I would say we need to actually put this one up a bit because I tend to pull my project a bit towards me. Don't ask me why. Just happens. But I know. And then we'll do another 3 half doubles. And then we'll do 2 in this next stitch. And another 3 half doubles. So yeah, I'm quite happy I got tickets ordered for the next 2 flights trips to Denmark. So I can come home, hopefully help my mom. And my family. But I will first be home for the next 3-ish, 2.5 weeks. Also a bit so I get the new work habit of my new job learned, and I think it's easier to do at the convenience at my home, of course. And also it was a little bit related to prices of flight tickets as well. They were horrendously expensive if I had to go a bit shorter notice. Oddballs, good morning to you, my lady. Hope you are doing well. My workstation arrived, so I need to get that set up, and we all decided on me making bucket hats. So here we are. I'm making my first Dutch inspired bucket hat. In a yarn that I'm not used to working with, but it is working up nicely. I think it is the Drops Paris. What we could do is, I guess we could put that one here. Would that work? Probably. It would if I do like this. Good. That's this round complete. So we'll slip stitch into that first stitch of the previous row. Yeah, I know. I said I need to make a new red teapot shawl once I'm done with the ultimate sacrifice, which is not complete yet. So sometime before my ultimate sacrifice is finished, I will need to decide on what shawl to make next. She has been really throwing out designs as crazy lately. 3, 3, 3. So we need to go to 4. So I really want to make some more fur designs. I think they're gorgeous. Very intricate. I love them. But they're not travel friendly, so it might be a project for May. But I have a few things I want to finish up this month first. But it might be something that I'll start on when I'm home from my parents in the start of May. is what I'll imagine. So we'll do 4 half doubles in the following 4 stitches. On the 5th stitch, we do 2 half doubles for this row. Abba says, started a baby blanket from Hooked on Sunshine. I need to finish it before I start something else. Yeah. The needing to finish things before starting the next is something I can relate to. I still need to get those granny squares sewn together from the sweet Martine. But they look so much nice after I blocked them. Which was kind of what it was expected, right? Because they looked so funky before I blocked them. Not even close to being remotely similar. And now they look much nicer. I just need to now find time to sew them together. And that is tedious. So my suspicion is that it's probably not a pattern I'll make many of in the future, but we will see. Do you have a bag that I want to make? That could be something I could bring with me on the go. Yeah, they look really wonky. Now they look nice. I just not the sewing together is tedious. I don't like sewing things together. It's like weaving in ends, even though weaving in ends is more fun than sewing squares together. But yeah, I'll be fine. I just need to convince myself to do it. And the challenge there is just I have a few other projects I'd like to get done first, and therefore it gets kind of postponed, postponed, postponed. Oh, that's nice. So Utbal's finished painting and setting up her new yarn room before her surgery coming up in a few weeks. Then you're ready for when you get home. That's nice. Hopefully healing after surgery won't be too long so that you can get back to crafting. Do 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 2 4. Yep. I have a challenge because I've been looking into the idea of selling written patterns, right? But the problem is selling patterns like that is considered digital goods, and then you will have to like adhere to each country's rules for taxations and valued at taxes. So let's say that I would sell my patterns on my own web store. If I sold to a country within the EU, I would have to adhere to the European Union taxes or even to the taxes for the country, depending on the amount of volume I sell for within the EU every year. And then I would sell, let's say, selling something to California or to New York or to Massachusetts would all be different fees depending on the sales tax fee in each individual state. Canada would be different as well. So that's way too complicated. Where physical goods is like if you can prove you shipped it, it's a 0% tax. As long as it's outside of the EU. Within the EU, you need to keep focus on, again, each individual country's tax, depending on what your sales volume are each year. So I'm not sure if I'll adventure into the art of selling patterns yet. You haven't finished it yet. So yeah, I totally missed that word finished. Finished. I haven't. That could be. But oddballs, the thing is, I don't know how that will work for the states, but you would like have to pay each individual state. They don't have like a one-shop system like they do in the EU. That's the challenging part. That's the challenging part. Goody goody. So that was 4, right? So we did, yeah, 4. So now we need to chain 1, and we'll have to do 5 half double crochets in each of the following 5 stitches, and then 2 half doubles in the following for the increase. Yes, sir. That was 5. So that is definitely something I need to look into on that account, because I'm a little bit overwhelmed with the thought of having to send, let's say, in one semester you sell one to one state and one to another state, and then you'll have to, for like $1 or $2 sales tax, need to handle that. Like, oh my goodness. The amount of administration is just like daunting on me. I don't know if they would. I would have to check. I am working on setting up a Shopify shop, so I'd have to check on that. Oh, don't split on me. You don't turn your granny square after you slip stitch? No, I'm just working in the round. It's just worked in the round, not a granny square. This is just a big, like, half double crochet round thingy with a nice pattern that goes on the side. Eventually I need to change yarn, but no, I don't turn around. I just keep working in the round. You can slightly see the slip stitches here, but it's not too bad. But when I get to the more detailed pattern on the side, you do turn around for each row. So 2, 5, 2, yeah. Then 5 again. Yep. So yeah, that's probably what you're missing. I'm not turning around every row. No, I'm not. Three, 4, and a 5. Don't forget to drink. Oh, the tea's really getting nice now and drinkable. It was a bit warm earlier. It's been cooling down a little bit. What are you ladies working on? Oddballs is having blankets. I know. At least she needs to work on the blanket. And I think Killa is maybe just resting. She did sound a bit tired earlier. The blanket Oddballs is working on is called a doodad. Michelle is working on a tank top and a blanket. I have a few things to work on, but right now we are just working on the next happily bucket hat. I do have the feeling this is bigger than the other yarn that I've worked in, so I really need to measure when we get closer. 2, 4, 5. And you started on Susan started on a chevron shawl. Oh, they look nice too. I did a chevron shawl a while back. Never used it though. Should probably consider selling. I need to sit down and spend some time on the setup phase. It's really not just by purchasing the subscription and then thinking it's a few clicks. There's like quite a bit of stuff to be done actually. And more importantly, I need to make sure that all my tax stuff is correct too, so I don't get slaughtered by them. That was this round. And what I want to do actually after this slip stitch is I should probably measure my crown to see where we are heading. Any guesses how big it is? Any guesses? It is 12 centimeters, which is about a little bit less, a little bit short of 5 inches. A little short of 5 inches. Now we need to do half double crochet in the first 6 stitches and 2 half double crochets in the next. Dust Bunny says she's crocheting some amigurumi little chickens to be exact, going on a market in Roskilde on Saturday, and I hope I will sell some of them. Good luck. Good luck. I will be in Roskilde in a few weeks actually, but not for a market, more for a hospital visit. But yeah, I hope you're successful in your ventures. Would be nice to do some sales. And in a few weeks, well, actually in 2 weeks, it's Easter. So that would be nice if you'll manage to sell some. It's a good timing for it, at least. You're quite welcome. So yeah, that is definitely also something that. So Roskilde has a hobby, and if I'm going to bring my mom to her chemotherapy, they actually don't allow the relatives to stay during the treatment due to fear of exposing other patients for illness and so on. And their treatment is going to be like 3 hours because she gets quite a bit of a combination mix. So I have been debating on two things. One, bring my workstation. I can work, I just need internet, and they do have internet there. Or I could also go visit Hobby or any other yarn shop because I know you ladies love when I take you with me on a tour to a yarn store. Why can't I get this right without splitting? There it was. Just needs to curse off it a bit. 2, 4, 6. Yeah. So that is an idea of my mind right now, is to do that. Obviously, I'll try to see if I can do some recording there within reason. I'll be quite keen on that. Oddball says you love to go on a hobby tour with me, but understand if I need to work. Yeah, so I won't know yet until I'm kind of there in the situation. So my work is part-time, and it could be that I can squeeze my work around in a such way that I will be able to manage it. But I might need some time to do the voiceover. Another thing is I could probably not do a very detailed tour of everything, but I could probably do a rough tour at least. I'd imagine. That is a nice little dream of mine. That would be so cool. Also, if I at some stage need to go to the office in Amsterdam for work, I would definitely combine it with visiting. There is a yarn store in Amsterdam which carries some yarns that I think could be amazing for beanies. And I'd be happy to visit that store as well, just to say, hey, look at this, because that would be more specified yarn stores. The stores we've really been visiting so far here in the Netherlands, it's more like budget stores for budget yarns. Not saying they are bad yarns at all, because they have some nice yarns too. But it's more plain. It's not as specialized, if that makes sense. So that is things that's kind of crossing my mind. Also, the challenges, of course, the weeks when I'm home, I won't really have time to do the yarn talks, or go live for that matter, because I don't think I will have the surroundings to go live in a very nice manner. My dad is a loving guy, but he's not understandable of silence or not talking or disturbing. So I don't see that would happen that quickly either. So it could be that I can't record it and will have to do all the editing at home, which would be fine. That wouldn't be the first time. So we have 2, 4, 6. Yeah. Still going great, I would say. I do have the feeling that not after this row, but after the following row, we might slowly be ready for the next step of this pattern. But so far we are still increasing. We have 5. We need 1 more before the increase. I think the only downside with this pattern is it's quite dense fabric, so it does take quite a bit of yarn and it does take quite a bit of time to crochet, but I really like how it looks. I have another Dutch design on my mind as well to do with it. Mm-mm. 2, 4, 6. We're almost around. I see. We just need 3 more normal half doubles and the increase. This pattern does give you lots of time to improve your half doubles. I can tell you that. What we should do, just for funsies, is to again measure width, just to have an idea of where we are. Last time it was a 12, so I expect it to be wider than 5 inches now, but let's see. 14. Or 5.5. Yeah, I would say 1 more round of increase. And then we're going to work on the sides. Then I'm looking at this and I'm like concluding, I have plenty of yarn left. But that's how it is, and that's fine. We will see. So we'll do 7 half doubles, and the 8th stitch we'll do 2 half doubles. And once we have done for the whole round, I can tell you we should be at 90 stitches if I counted correct and if I did my job correctly, most importantly. If I did everything correctly, we should then be at 90. And I think that should put us at 16-ish circumference. And that would be perfect. So let's see here, 2, 4, 6, 7, and then the 2 half doubles. What I do want to do once I've done this row is just to take a look at the alternative patterns, also not patterns, sizings. So I have an idea of where we could be heading sizing wise. I'd like something I could fit, not that I necessarily want to run around in a Dutch patterned hat. Well, maybe. 2 half doubles should fit 2, 4, 6. So yeah, it does. Nice. I like when everything adds up, because that means that I didn't make any mistakes either. So that is nice. But I have a feeling that I'm not going to finish up the skeins with this project. For that, I'll need to do some sort of a scrap project maybe. Two, 4, 6, 7. Perfect. It's such a nice weather. People are taking the time out to drive on their bicycles. Even I should spend some time outside. Would be good for me. Good morning, Mama Gwen. Love to see you. Hope you had a great sleep. Come and hang out with us. We are currently working on the Gabi bucket hats in some Dutch colors. We're doing the top part because obviously the top of the Dutch flag is red. So it's this gorgeous red that I'm working with. 2, 4, 6, 7. In the drops Paris, which is like 3-weight, thick 3-weight yarn. Further than that, quite nice cotton to work with. Goes pretty straightforward right now. 2, 4, 6, 7. It is definitely slightly thicker than the Linda Hobby 8/8 cotton. One, 2, 3. Oops, daisy. And 7. It is a beautiful red. It is like, it's pretty much like the same red almost as a YouTube icon red. It does look like a bit more dusty here on the screen, but it is like a really nice, good, bright red. I think it's the shade, maybe. I don't know if it's how the lighting is. I don't know. Yeah. The red I have here is darker, but the reality is this red is closer to that red. So it's the light. Light isn't really giving a good display today. Meanwhile, it is 20 minutes past 3 p.m. here in Central Europe. And people are working on a couple of different projects here and there. We're all just hanging out with one another, having a good time. I have definitely a few plans that I need to get pushed along to 2, 4, 6, 7. And Nightbird is saying all sorts of fun things to you guys. Mainly giving reminders. 2, 4, 6. I need one more. One more. And then we need 2 half doubles in this stitch, like that. We are just needing, we are just short of 2 repeats. And then I think we are very close to us going through the next step of this pattern. That is a bunch of back loops. Back loop single crochets to be more exact. Oh, don't split on me, yarn. It's not that splitty, this yarn, but sometimes I have a single moment where I do something and then it does almost want to split on me. We need 2 half doubles here. Then we need 7 in each stitch. So not in each stitch. 7 half doubles, 1 in each 7 stitches. Yeah. And then in the very last stitch, we need to do 2 half doubles. Then we should measure. And if this has been following the strategic of the average of the other rounds, I am expecting us to be at 16 centimeters. The pattern says we need to be at 16 and a half. And that is with the crochet hook size. That is only 3.5 millimeters, and I'm using a 4.5 millimeter. It just says, I guess, the difference on my tension. But if everything goes well, we should be at 16 here. And then I just need to have a look at the pattern. So, very close. 15.7, which is like 6.25 inches. For those curious. So according to this, we are heading towards a small adult. .22-inch head. So what's the difference between this and the next? Let me just check. Because that's basically the same here. We do increase by a little bit. I think that's probably clever since we are a little bit smaller. And the top one does not increase at all. I'll go for the medium size from here on. Yeah. That seems a good plan. Michelle says she's working with Kaboo right now. It's splitting, but the finished project is worth it. Kaboo is like the mixed blend of bamboo and cotton, right, from Lion Brands. I've seen it, and it looks like a really gorgeous yarn. I'd love to try it out at some stage. Same with Truboo, but it's not yarns that is super easily accessible here, or they cost a fortune before they get here. So I will probably cave in one day and order. But not right now. There's a few other things in life I need to keep track of. Single crochet back loop only in the first 14 stitches. Then I need to do 2. And then I need to do 14 stitches again, and then 2 in the next, etc. Okay, so what I'm gonna do with this, because this is something that's requiring counting, which is going to be something that I'm not gonna be enjoying, is that I'm gonna say 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and the 15th stitch I need to do the 2. Then every time I'll just move it one forward. Or I can just add stitch markers in them all, just to make the easiness of it. Mama knows best Akuen says, have you heard that you can give away 10 memberships? I'm not allowed, or I'm able to do that due to how my YouTube channel is set up. It's not a private, it's a business channel, so it doesn't allow you to give away memberships. And trying to change that back is going to be a real pain in the ass. To be nicely saying things, and I'm knowing that it's not super nice English. But that will be a real pain in the rear. And given the fact that I need to do a few other updates connecting with the fact that it's sort of semi-business going, then it's not a good plan to change it. Because that has to do with then the payouts I'll get from YouTube. I can actually send YouTube a VAT invoice where I push the VAT on them, and then I'll pay less tax. 2, 4, 6, 8, 12, 14. Number 15 should be 15 between here. 6, 8, 12, 14, 15. Yeah, so that is why I can't. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. But if that was the case that I could and YouTube wouldn't have an issue with it, I would. Trust me, I would. Instantly. 12. Huh, it's not. It's 12. I need 14, 15. So we need to move them like 2. Need to count this all again. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Number 15. 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Number 15. Awesome. 2, 4, 6, 8, 12. Oh, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. We also need to move this one too. 1, 2. Now it should match. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Perfect. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. So the thing is, if I were to give away memberships, I would have to pay for it, and I would only get like 60% back from YouTube. So that is why I don't. I'm sorry. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. Perfect. Perfect. Sorry, I just had to do this counting because now I don't need to do it while actually doing the deed. And the deed is 14 single crochets in the back loop. So I chained 1 just to get started on the round. And that first stitch that I slip stitched into, I'll go in and grab the back loop and do a single crochet. And we do that all the way around. And in the places where I have the stitch markers, I need to do 2 single crochets in that stitch, and that is the whole round. And I really like the fact that I need to think a bit less because I added those stitch markers. It did take a bit, but now I can just do it without, well, that split, without really worrying. So that's nice. And that was 14. If I do this correct, yep, The first 14 stitches done. Then, oh, I need to make sure that was disappearing under my computer. So now I need to do 2 single crochets in this stitch in the back loop only. Very important. Then we do another 14 singles, jogging along. Once we have done that, we will have to do a row where we start the pattern of the side. And then that's it for the red. So then we will have to change color. And that's what I'm saying. I'll have plenty left after this. So who knows, maybe I'll end up having to make some sort of scrap hat at some stage. That could definitely be a thing. Oddbell says she's back because she had to make coffee and get her boy off to school. Yep, school is important. It can be tedious, but it is important. On the other hand, a bunch of what I learned in school, I'm not sure how much I'm using today. Well, English, obviously, I'm using that, but and I will be using Danish in my new job. But I also learned that just by talking. But yeah, of course, the writing part would have been. But I also think I learned a bunch in school where I'm not really sure if I really had use for it. But I think it's good to have a bunch of general knowledge. But these days it's getting more and more popular to homeschool and kind of decide the curriculum themselves. And I don't blame parents for wanting to do that because of how the school systems are slowly set up these days. But it is a lot of work if you option to homeschool. I have a big respect for those parents that do, though. Oh, we have a split. Cut it there. It's law here. Everybody has to go to school till 18. My son goes to private school until this year. I homeschooled him. Yeah, learning is law in most countries, I believe. The question is just what rules there are to the curriculum when you do homeschool. That seems to be different from country to country. But most kids have like there's a rule that you're obliged to teach children, like general. Well, that's nice. Private school uses the same curriculum as you did for him. But did you set it up, or did you just like find a standard one you followed when you started homeschooling him, or? Well, that's just me being curious, by the way. You're almost around here. It's a Christian curriculum that's pre-made. Okay. That makes sense. Good morning, Sarah. I hope you had a great weekend. Yes, everything is well. I received my workstation today. I need to get it set up. Um, Technically, I'm first starting on Monday, but I will be setting it up this week. And my boss wrote me that I should write down the amount of time I spend on it because that is considered working hours as well, which is kind of cool. So I can probably trade in those hours for another time when I need less or something like that. I'm not quite sure if it's gonna get paid out or how it's gonna work, but I'm sure we'll find it out. That's my least concerns. They seem so genuine and nice. I'm really happy that I got this job. So far, they have been really super nice people. And on Monday in 2 weeks, it's Easter Monday, so I won't go live because it's Easter Monday. I'll be spending some time with the family. So that is also why there's a few things I need to consider. And we need to do 2 of these. I feel like going on a yarn haul or something like that. Just busy. My grandfather had to move in with us because I couldn't stay with him any longer because of the appointments he needs. 24/7 care now, just waiting on his hospital bed to be delivered. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry to hear that he needs so much care, but it's wonderful to hear that you have the ability to take him in. My husband is doing orientation for his employees today. He's paying them and buying them all a pizza lunch. That sounds nice. That is definitely a nice deal. So we got all the way around. Single crochets a back loop only. We now have 96 stitches around for rows 11 to 22. I will be turning for each row. We start by doing a single crochet, and then a chain, and then in the same stitch where we slip stitch into, we need to do a single crochet, half double, and a double. We skip 2 stitches, single crochet, half double, double, etc., all the way around. And when we got all the way around, red is complete. Then we switch to white. So that is how it's gonna be looking for this round. So that was a single, half double, and double. What I do just for convenience sake is I do tend to mark my first stitch of that row. What I need to do is at the end of this row, I need to slip stitch into this stitch for making the turn. So we skip 2 stitches and we jump into the third now. And it's a single crochet, a half double crochet, and a double crochet. And that is the whole way around. Very simple. Skip 2, jump to the next. We do a single, we do a half double, and we do a full double. Sarah finds that Apple's husband is a great boss. Tomorrow, one of their suppliers is coming to school about their products, and the suppliers buying them all lunch. I don't have to feed lunch for him for 2 days. Oh, that's nice though. I do need to feed my own lunch. That will be the downside of working from home with a new job, but I am kind of fine with that because it does give me also another sort of freedom. And I think having to pay for my own lunch is definitely worth the freedom I'll get from the flexibility I get from this new job. And as I said, I already ordered flight tickets for the travels as well, and some of those will be during normal working hours. But I will be waiting at the airport one of the days for a few hours. You're gonna kid me, not? I am crying out loud. Look here. What is this? The dreaded factory knots. For crying out loud. And it's really not made in a nice way. I'm not gonna keep that. The factory knots, which means that I can redo this one. And I was like, almost like, I just needed this last round. Like, couldn't it have waited, like, I don't know, a few meters? So it would fit with me actually having it finished. That would have been nice. Of course not. Doesn't work like that, does it? No, it doesn't. Let's see. And a half double. Oh, not a half double, a double. Did the half double already. Damn it. That gives me 2 extra ends to weave in, but right now I'm just making a little tiny sort of knot to help keep track of them. So they don't undo themselves until they're woven in. That was one ugly knot. I totally agree. Like, I get factory knots need to be there, but this one, that was a nasty one. That was really a nasty one. I'm also debating. I've really have gotten myself a pile of scraps now, so I'm really debating it's time to make some sort of small amigurumi where I just fill it with yarn scraps. I'll probably etch it with regular polyfill and then fill the center with yarn scraps. That would be a good idea. It's time. I don't like to throw things away if I can still find a use for them, including those tiny ends of the yarn scraps. But yeah, so far it's simple. Single crochet, half double, double, skip 2, single crochet, half double, and a double. Exactly, Susan. That is why this job is perfect. My new job will exactly allow me to, as what you say, will be just enough time so you can still enjoy your hobbies and family care travel. Exactly. That is exactly how it is going to be. And I can work the hours flexible, which means that of course they prefer office hours, but they're also okay with me to do some hours in office hours and some hours towards ends. Utball says, I'll be honest, I throw away the ends. I don't make amigurumi. I don't make a lot of amigurumi either. I just keep the ends because I think it's fun. Just to have something. And I do have some chenille yarns for amigurumi laying. So it's like I should do it because I feel it's a waste to throw out, if that makes sense. 2, 3. Susan asks if you use yarn scrap for stuffing, do you use lining like pantyhose to hold the little pieces of yarn? No, I'd use like I'd line it with the polyfill actually, and then in the polyfill center, so to say, So I'll like line the liney sides of polyfills, and I'll just in the center I'll stuff the yarn scraps in. That's what I've done until now. The only thing is, of course, those amigurumi, when you do use yarn scraps, they do tend to get heavier than if you do polyfill, because polyfill is more airy of a material. So the toys themselves, or the amigurumi themselves, can be a bit heavier. If I'm actively working on one, I tend to instantly just put in the yarn ends of chenilles or something like that. But I don't make a lot of amigurumis, I'll also have to say that. That is not something I've done a lot of. But I've made a few. See, I'm sort of semi-working on a project now where I maybe could use those scraps. One, two. So yeah, my new job is perfect in so many aspects. I'm looking forward to have been taught everything. So the idea is, for example, when I go home in the end of May, I already got the tickets just for cheap and planning and stuff. Then once I go home, the flight will first be at like 10 past 10 or something like that in the morning. But I'll have to get driven by my partner, and it's an hour-and-a-half drive. And he needs to go back and be at work at 8:30, which means that he has to drop me off at like no later than 7 a.m. So that'll be like 3 hours in the airport to get through security and wait for flying. Trust me, an airport is really boring for that long. So what I will be doing is I'll get off at the airport and I will grab my working station and I will work for a bit before flying, because that is called exploiting time. There's nothing else to do. Or I could bring some crochet stuff and I could crochet, but which I might also do, because sometimes it's not always able to get a good seating location with a table. I'll have to look at that. One, two. Susan says interesting technique. Then Utbald says for next year I'm thinking of getting some nice jars and using one per year for then, so I can see everything I've made that year. I think it's a neat decor. That could be a nice idea actually. That's not a bad idea either. I got myself a bunch of small jars. They are not here anywhere close to me, but they're like, about this size with the cork stoppers. And I want to put in sand from beaches in those from where I've been. I think that could be neat. Especially because, like, if I think about the sandy beach of a couple of the beaches in New Zealand, some of them are white, but some of them are also black because of volcano. It's like volcanic sand. That is pretty awesome. So obviously, as you can hear, with that project with the glasses or jars, I will have to travel back to New Zealand. Now, wouldn't that be nice? Challenge, of course, would be to be gone for 4 weeks and pay for it also. Before then, we probably need to renovate, would be the right word, renovate our house. That is a costly affair too. should probably be the next thing that we are saving for. We do need some house renovations. We actually also need a new couch. We need many things. But it's still working, so it's fine. It's more like, some of it is more like a convenience. I already said I wanted some more cupboards in my kitchen for when we renovate the kitchen, which definitely has to be done within like maybe the next 10 years because it is getting old and worn. Then the comment from my partner was, so you will be able to collect more stuff, which I guess partially it's true, right? It's about being able to place your kitchen helpers and so on in cupboards rather than stacking them somewhere else. I think it would be nice with a different way of storing it. Ideally, I'd have a bigger home. So we joked last night about when the neighbors put the house up for sale last spring, we should have bought it. So we could have demolished the wall just behind me, and then we also had some extra rooms for when we are having visitors over and stuff like that. Bigger living room. So that was a joke. The fact is, we probably didn't have 400,000 euros to purchase it for, but we joked about it. We did definitely joke about it. I have to say, I'd be tempting to actually do it in the event that that we would have the money if it happened in the future. It would be like, if we could physically demolish that wall between them, that would be kind of nice with extra room. Because further, I'm pretty happy with where I live. It's a nice street. But I definitely like the idea of having more room when we have visitors. Then I'll definitely also have more than enough room for a yarn room. Ooh, wouldn't that be sexy? Yeah, the worst part of travel is to hurry up and wait in the airport. Definitely agree on that one. So that was this. I need to slip stitch into here, but I also need to change color to white. Gorgeous whites. And I see that it doesn't help folding it like this for the red one. So we need to cut a till. Oh, I get all sad. Didn't use it up. That's a difference, by the way. Full skein to what we have left of the reds, for those curious. So obviously that red will go back straight into my stash. We need a bunch of stuff too, but with the new build soon, we are only doing what we have to do now. Yeah, I guess we're just kind of collecting to this big renovation we want to do. But the big renovation is like gonna be like, we'll need a new kitchen. We also want to remove the gas. Like we have a gas fireplace, so it's a fireplace run on gas only, but gas is really expensive and we want to get off the gas. So we want to remove that. And when we do that, it's gonna leave some nasty stuff in the walls. So we'll need to fix that. And due to the kitchen, the tiles on the floor is not gonna run through under the whole kitchen. So get that renovated, we'll need to new tile flooring. But the tile flooring is the whole bottom area here, which means that we also have the hallway with the same tiles, which also will need to get redone, but also the guest toilet in the hallway. And the guest toilet is already partially broken because the small flush doesn't work anymore. Only the big flush does. And therefore, we also need to renovate the toilet. And to do that, we'll need to renovate the whole guest toilet. And you know, if we have to do that, it's just the whole bottom floor we have to renovate in one go. And I've quickly done math. A rough estimate is somewhere between 50 and 75,000 euros, which is a fortune. I'll have to save for a couple of years to do that. But it's a nice dream. Now you can see the nice colors here together. They're really gorgeous. So what I have to do is I have to slip stitch into that first. And I tend to do it a bit funky to join them here. But that is to help with the color change, to help aid. So what we should do is to pull those yarns a little bit and tie a nice little knot, which we then can sew in once we have done a bit, if that makes any sense. Because here we chain one, and now we have this nice join where you can almost not see the color. So we'll turn the work, and then here in the last double crochet we need to work in a single crochet, a half double, and a double. Then we skip 2 stitches and go to the next double crochet we did and do the same. And that we have to do for quite a few rows. So and that's gonna be all white. So what I probably should do now is I should get a pen and a paper so I can keep track of the amount of rows I've done. That would be the clever me to do. That was last time I did something similar. That actually would be here, but that's fine. I'll do like that. We did 1 row already because that was a red. And that is for me to keep track of the rows I've done. 1, 2. I do get all national feel for this because this is Danish coloring. Denmark is only 3 weeks away. So I'll be going once a month to Denmark the coming half year because the amount of chemotherapy treatments that my mom will have will be once every 2 weeks. And I can't permanently stay that long. I just have too many obligations in the Netherlands for doing that. And I'll probably go insane. I love my dad, but we are too similar. So I think if I would stay at home for half a year, we'd both be kind of relieved when I'm moved out again. So to say. But the idea is then I'll go home every second treatment she has and be helpful there and supportive and do whatever they need, including making some leftovers they can put in the freezer for easier cooking, because my dad is definitely not a cook and my mom doesn't really have the energy to do lots of cooking. So I'll be helpful in many aspects is the idea. And Oddball says, just found out yesterday that one of my crochet friends is just a few houses down from where my new house will be. We're already making plans for our husband so we can play with the yarn together. Great plan. That's a great idea. I have to say, I also regularly craft with my mom these days when I'm home, so that's kind of nice when she has the energy to do it. Hope you're getting good air miles for buying your tickets. Yes. Right now I am buying my tickets with the credit card that I've connected to my Air Miles account to help get extra Air Miles. That will be good for future vacation. And then I'm also getting, like, I'm often using the same flying group that would like SkyTeam, because I'll either fly KLM or SAS. So KLM is the Royal Dutch Airlines, translate to English, and SAS is Scandinavian Airlines. That's the most often flights for also reasonable tickets and travel times that's accessible to me. And last year, I believe it was, KLM bought a 20% stake of SAS. And a part of that was a requirement that SAS had to change from the Eurobonus Star Alliance program to SkyTeam. And KLM is a part of SkyTeam. So that's actually perfect for me. So for me, it's only a benefit what happened looking at traveling to Denmark, which means that in a couple of travels time, sometime this autumn, I'll have like free luggage when I'm flying, stuff like that. That is gonna be nice. And with the job I now have, I also have more flexibility to go probably more often back and forth for. Oh, that was not a half double. That's supposed to be a double. Just checking. Yeah, did I do a double there? I think I did. Yeah, I did. But I'll just redo it to make sure. So yeah, that's gonna be good for me. I'll get my frequent flyer status upgraded to something more useful. I'm probably not gonna be flying enough to get free lounge access like I used to have many years ago when I flew so much for competitions. I had free lounge access with Star Alliance. That was kind of cool back then. But from where I am, most flights to the US, for example, would be via SkyTeam, like Delta or KLM or Air France, which again is SkyTeam. And I do know we talked about a couple of times we really want to go to the US at some stage on vacation, me and my partner. There is a couple of places we'd love to see over there. One of our credit cards has free lounge access. It's really nice. Yeah, I wish mine would give me free lounge access too, but it does not. It unfortunately does not. And I earn too little to upgrade it to one that does. And I'm not willing to pay for the extra just to do that. Then I'd rather just have free lounge access based on the amount of travels I do. Though I'm not there yet to do that. It'll be a couple of months down the drain. Yeah, it's good. But I do remember in the beginning when I had lounge access, that was back in 2012. That, my friends, was awesome. Because back then in the lounge you had free Wi-Fi, but you didn't in the rest of the airports. And back then you didn't have the automatic cheap roaming when you were abroad in Europe like you do now. So that was really great. I really enjoyed it back then. Plus the free meals, like I didn't have to pay for the expensive airport meals. That was good too. Hello, Ashley. Ashley Wester's Crochet and Knitting channel has joined our live. I would say good morning if you're in the US, and if you're not in the US and somewhere else, I'm just gonna say hello and good day. I am in Europe right now. It is 4 p.m., which is also why I can see in this hat, my friends, that we will not finish it today. But what we can do, and I think that is not unrealistic, We could finish it on Wednesday's live. I should be live Wednesday unless anything else happens. We do still have some time to work on it, so we will get closer. But I think it is realistic to finish it on Wednesday. If I don't leave too many tails to sew in, because right now we are working up towards the ends of the Greta nut tails. Michelle says it is 9:06 a.m. in Texas right now. That is true. Texas is Central Time. They are 7 hours behind me. I live in the future, but I'm not able to tell you whatever numbers you need for the Powerball, unfortunately. If I did, I would have. Abba says weather finally turned here. The weather in Winkler, Canada is partially cloudy with a temperature of 21 degrees Fahrenheit, equals -6 degrees Celsius. Wind is blowing from the north. Ooh, that sounds chilly. I hope it's getting more springy soon. The weather for Prior Lake is sunny with a temperature of 28 degrees Fahrenheit, equally -2 degrees Celsius. Wind is blowing from north at 26 kilometers an hour. Hello, Geordie Crates. Warm welcome to this live. Nice that you're here to hang out with us. I am currently working on the Gabi bucket hat in these Dutch colors. So this is all of them. What would you call it? It's like around your head part. So I did the crown, which is all red, and now we're doing the sides of the bucket hat. And the brim will be blue because that would be Dutch colors. It seemed quite matching with King's Day coming up in 2.5 weeks' time. It's also a bit American colors if you think about it, except the Americans don't have blue stripes. Well, they do have, no, they don't, right? But they do have blue, red, and white in. But always wonderful to see new people. What are you ladies working on? Feel free to share. One, two. That is almost this row complete. We are now. So what we are gonna do is we are gonna slip stitch into that single crochet of the first stitch of that round. So let's see if I can even grab it from here. Should be able to, like that. Then we'll chain one. We'll flip the work around. Now you can get to see all my threaded yarn ends. And we'll, in the first double crochet of the previous row, we'll do the single crochet, half double, and double. And we finished a row, so let's just quickly write that down on a line here. Albert says it will be melting this afternoon. Definitely sounds nice, so it's gonna be springy. Ashley says that she's working on a polar bear Wobbles crochet kits. I've seen the Wobbles crochet kits, but I've never actually tried them. I'll be honest and say it seems pricey, but they were like on great sales at Joann's, weren't they, during their now when they're eliminating the stores and closing them down. Alpo says, I think I'm going to start making some Fred teapots, blankets for baby blankets. I make blankets for all of the new babies at our church. Oh, that's cute. And yeah, Her patterns can definitely be turned into blankets. They are gorgeous. I still need to test out some of her blankets, but we'll try some of them out. I got the patterns for them. I just need to actually do them. That's the thing. That is the thing. Michelle says the white makes the red really pop. Yeah, I hope so. And eventually we'll have a brim in this gorgeous blue. Is the idea. I think it will be nice. This is like real sapphire blue. And nice and soft. Ashley says she got 2 of the crochet kits for Christmas. Ah, nice. Who doesn't love something crafty for Christmas? For example, I need to find out if I like knitting enough to actually wish me some decent knitting needles. But I have planned my next knitting projects, and I mean projects. It's the same kind of. It's going to be a couple of one another. Oh, that wasn't a double. That was a half double. I should have been a double. Because I already do have the yarns found, and so on. I think I'll just bring it with me to Denmark for the purpose, though. Because that's also something I can easily work on waiting or something like that. One, two. But I plan quicker than I make. But I think that is a general habit for most crafters, that we very quickly get the idea of what we want to make, and we can find the colors and everything, but the actual time it takes to make. Meanwhile, we like found 10 different projects we also want to do. Now, the next challenge is then if you are a person that will instantly also start those projects when you get the idea of them, or if you try your best to finish one project at a time before starting on your new. I tend to always have a couple of projects running at the same time. It kind of also depends my mood, if I want to craft or not, and what yarn I want to craft with. Oh, I have a fleck of red. Don't need that. Susan says, Dina, do you ever watch Ophelia Talks when she does live streams in Danish? I didn't know she does them in Danish. I think they might do them in Dutch or Flemish because she's from Belgium. Could that be? There's a difference. I would probably understand that as well, but I haven't. I haven't. Ashley says, I've even crocheted blindfolded. Well, I haven't done that either, because I'm not really sure if I would be successful. Maybe I would, to some extent. Depends on the task, I think. And Michelle says, me too. It is a busy afternoon in here. One, two. So yeah, we will definitely be live also on Wednesday. And I should be able to keep my live schedule when I'm starting working, exception of official holidays and when I'm in Denmark. So when I'm traveling. But when I'm home, I should still be able to do my regular live streams on every second Monday and every Wednesday. 1, 2. And for those curious, what I am doing right now is the side edge of this bucket hat. And this pattern is single crochet, half double crochet, and double crochet in the same stitch. Skip 2, single crochet, half double, double, etc. All the way around. This is slowly turning into the side of the hat. This is the top part because here you see the edge where you did here. This is around when we did the back loop, single crochet. Michelle Wortman says, I only keep about 3 work in progresses at a time because it causes internal chaos. And Susan says, yeah, maybe in Dutch get the language confused. Yeah, you're not the first. And it can be a bit confusing because, so I speak Danish, but I also speak Dutch. So Danish are for people in Denmark, and Dutch are for the people in the Netherlands and the northern and western part of Belgium. And in Belgium, they don't call it Dutch, they call it Flemish, but they're very similar. It's a bit like comparing Danish and Swedish or Danish and Norwegian, for those that might be familiar with that. Adbel says only one whip at a time. The thing is, if I only had one whip at a time, I would, sometimes it would probably be a good idea. But I generally like to have a few things going because I can then work on the yarn structure, yarn type, or project I feel like. Also, some whips requires me really to keep constant eye on the pattern, and others don't. So I need something I can do for both. Like, I don't need a whip for being extremely on top of pattern for in the car or when I'm traveling. Correct. Danish is Denmark, Dutch is the Netherlands or in Holland, also partially in Belgium, even though they call it Flemish, but they're very similar. And Deutsch or German is in Germany. I also speak German. As an extra note, my new boss is German. So we started off the interview with he's like, yeah, please ask questions if you have any and so on. And I was like, I know it's an international company, so I was just like shooting from the hip saying, okay, so where are you from? He's like, I'm from Germany. And then I replied in nicely German, so da können wir auch in Deutsch reden. Basically, it's then we can also talk in German. And he was a bit surprised. And it's like, yeah, I do speak German, or at least I understand German. And I can speak German to some extent. Half decent, I would say. It's actually like that a lot of people in the Netherlands, when I talk Dutch, they look at me and think that I'm from Germany due to my accent, because I do have a Danish accent when I'm talking, which is not too illogic because I'm born in Denmark. So I don't have, like, you get my accent is getting closer to being Dutch compared to what it was 5 years ago, of course, but it's definitely getting closer. Plattdeutsch is overall, yeah, and Dutch is similar to Plattdeutsch, I would say. Ashley says she's left-handed, so she's a left-handed crocheter. And that is one of the reasons that some of my tutorials I'm trying to do in left hand too, because I think that is absolutely fair. And it's a simple way to do it for left-handed. It's just an editing question. So it is a little bit of extra work, but for the recording bit, it's not extra work, which is kind of nice. Well, very little extra work. Okay, we are almost feeling we are getting closer to end of the round. We are. We are. Oh. This one we need quite a few rounds of. And because I know how long this takes, that is why I say we can't finish this one today. But we can definitely have it finished on Wednesday. That is something I know for sure. Oddball says they have a lot of people in her area that speak Plattdeutsch, so they're originally Germans that moved over, or they could even almost have been Austrian. They also have to some extent of Plattdeutsch, I would say, but it's mainly German. So we had the first 3 rows. Oh, sorry. For rows 11 to 22. So 11, 12, 13, we have quite a few to go, as you can hear. So then we again go into the single crochet of the start of this row. Do a slip stitch in, tidy it up nicely, chain 1, flip the work around. Now it's only me that can see the dreadful ends. And in the double crochet of the previous row, we'll chain 1, half double, double. Susan asks oddballs if those Plattdeutsch speaking people are if they're Amish. That is a possibility, I would say. I do know there are Amish people that seem to original from the German areas. One, two. You know what I find a bit funny? There's lots of people in Europe right now that's trying to boycott American goods because of the trade war Trump wants to impose on all of us. But the thing is, people won't stop using their iPhones, I'm quite sure. So I think it's a bit ironic, all of it. It's not like I'm gonna stop using mine. It's working fine, and I won't change it until it's dead. And I'm quite pleased with the functionality, so why would I change? Amish and Mennonite people are similar sex. Yeah, that could very well be. I have to say, I haven't heard of the others. I would have to go have a look at that. Ashley said, I saved the left-handed crochet playlist. You're very welcome. And Ashley, my intention is to make more. And then for each I do, I will have both a right and a left-handed one. But it's a time thing, and I can't just take any to make some of it. I will have to be creative and design some. I have an idea as well, but yeah. So my thoughts on the pattern part, but because we did speak about patterns and selling patterns, and it's a bit complicated when trying to sell to, for example, other countries outside of the EU because of the rules of digital trade. Then it could be that some of the ideas I want to design that I just make tutorials for them instead here on YouTube rather than writing a pattern, or I could still do both, but I would still need to figure out how to get around if I wanted to selling it without too much administration, because that is the issue. I don't want too much administration on top because that's not worth it. The Americans are also calling for boycotts. Yeah. But see, there is one thing that the politicians doesn't understand, in this case Trump, that when you do trade wars and want to tax everything, or they call it tariff, but still, the price, who's paying the price is the consumers. The price who pays this will always be the consumers. Even though it ends in the government's pockets, Consumers are the ones that's paying the price in the end. It's not the government that's going to pay for this. It's just the government's way of getting cash into the pockets. And with a trade war like that, you will eventually impose that countries will be less willing to trade with you. And then the concept of the circular economy collapses. Sarah says, good morning. Good morning, Sarah. And she's saying, what are we going to boycott? Come late into the conversation. Well, the American economy is struggling, and I don't understand why the call to boycott Walmart, which has the lowest price, sort of counterproductive, in my opinion. Yeah, so the concept of tariff in general is counterproductive. That's the thing. It doesn't help anyone except the government money banks. Oddball says, I live super close to the American border. Our town's economy is destroyed right now. Most of our industry was going to the USA. Sarah says, boycott Walmart. I hadn't heard that yet. America has so many issues besides Walmart pricing. Yeah, that sounds crazy. Boycotting Walmart also seems a bit ridiculous to me. Like stores in Denmark are starting to mark price boards with if the product is made in the US or if it's made in the EU, so that they can make an easier choice if they want to avoid or omit American products due to, well, this dude that you elected last autumn. And that's me being polite. That doesn't mean that I don't like America. I love America. It's a wonderful country in many other aspects. But at the same time, I'm quite happy and I'm realizing how blessed I am to live in Europe. Like, we don't have issues with, like, when I'm unemployed, it's not like I use my health insurance. I'm still having my health insurance. I will still help at the hospital. I won't have debts to go past the rooftops or something like that. I won't lose my home or house getting sick. But I will have less money, of course. And eventually, we'll have to figure out a solution. But that goes for everywhere in the world. It's not like being spontaneously unemployed and then you have also no health insurance anymore and then you're screwed if you get sick. Luckily, it's not that bad. So many people have gotten laid off and lost their jobs in the last month. Yeah, so I can imagine Canada isn't too happy with Mr. Trump either these days, which I do understand. Sarah says, I didn't vote for the angry orange man. Yeah. I'm also not. So there is one thing which really, and it's not because I want to talk politics, but I still, this is something that's puzzling me. So Trump is the guy that has the quickest in a Guinness World Record history lost his popularity after being elected as a president. He broke a new record. The last person who set that record of becoming as quickly as possible unpopular after taking in the presidency was also Trump 4 years ago. Have people forgotten that? Like when they decided to vote for him again? That is my only question that I'm thinking about. And I think we should let the conversation stay here because I'm also sure it is. It's a topic that can get blood boiling, and that's not the intention for this because we are just crafting and happy. We should be, at least with our yarns. But my conclusion is if I have to order anything from like Lion Brands or anything else that would send to Europe from the US, it looks like it will be even more expensive than it used to be. So I guess I'll stick to mainly European yarns for the future, depending on what the end tariffs will look like, because Europe will impose something similar on the US, of course. Susan laughs at Sarah's comment. Oddball says we have federation election at the end of the month. Everyone is hoping that the new leader will change things here. I can definitely understand that. I wish you all the best of luck. Sarah laughs at my comment. Yep, I won't talk politics. That's about all I say. Yeah, politics can get ugly. And Susan says, I like economic talks, but it blends with politics. Yes, that is for sure. That is for sure. And the economic part of it, if we go back into trade war and tariffs, is that the US wants to impose, I believe it's 20 or 25% tariffs on goods from Europe, right? So once that's imposed, what the European Union will do is, okay, we have to counter this because that's not going to work like that. So we will have the same tariffs for goods imported from the US to Europe. Then what you get is that countries are less willing to trade with one another. And there you go from this global circular economy to a very localized economy. So you do not have globalization anymore, and everything will go more expensive in price over time. And the consumer is paying. Oh yeah, I did some economy at school at some stage. The weather in Minneapolis is sunny with a temperature 28 degrees Fahrenheit, negative 2 degrees Celsius, and the wind is blowing from north. All the way up there, it seems to be a northern wind you have, ladies. I'm going to do the stereotypical Minnesota nice thing and consider the weather instead. Yes. But the weather is nice if it's sunny. Here the weather is nice too. I showed my tulips a bit earlier in the stream. I could just for a minute put this one down and do that as well, but I'll do that in a few stitches because I'm this close to finishing this row. So once I finish this row, I will show you my tulips for those that wasn't around when I showed my tulips earlier today, because my tulips are blooming, which means it's spring, ladies. It's spring. And it has been absolutely wonderful weather the last couple of days. And the rest of the week should be sunny too, except this weekend will be rain. I need one more. So 3 more stitches and then this round is complete. And that is when I'll make a little line. I've done 4. No, it's cool. I'll find my flowers. Well, in New Jersey now it's still 4 degrees Celsius, so 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Wind is blowing from northeast at 9 miles per hour, and it is rain. That is not as funny. Let's see if I can do this without a glare. I'll just need to have this so I can see what I'm actually doing. Ta-ta! Oh, that direction. Look, my tulips. They're blooming. They are like reddish, light red. So this is too bright, but they're probably more like what it looks on the screen though. And they're in bloom. I am happy. And they were cheap. I got them last autumn for like, I think it was like €2 or €2.50 per sack of tulips, which is, I would say, pretty cheap given what it is. Tulips are gorgeous. It's the only sad thing. And what I have behind the tulips, by the way, is iris, for those that's curious. But the sad thing, of course, about the tulips is that they only bloom for a few weeks and then they're gone and done and dusted, right? That is sad. Sad, sad, sad. So we are heading on to the next row. And we'll start by a single crochet and a half double and a double, and we'll skip 2 and it's single crochet, half double, double. So what is about this is it creates this absolutely gorgeous sort of pattern, which you can see. I really like it. It is nice. So Sarah's tulips haven't gotten up yet, and Alpa says can't keep them. The wild rabbits will keep eating them. Oh, and Sarah also has lots of rabbits that come around and eat her plants. Oh, that's sad. So I'm curious. So what I got, I have in front of my door, I have like a pot holder, I would say, or a pot holder is maybe not the right word, like a big pot, flower pot, and it has ground in it, and I planted in some begonias. And I'm curious, and I hope they will come up. Let's see if I actually still have a photo of those which I planted. I do. I bought some of these to plant in front of my front door. Begonia pendula champagne. They're just gonna be like, I don't know, how many inches would that be? Their total height will be about 20 centimeters, so that is like 8 inches. So it'll be like this tall. And I hope they come out and look nice. That's the hope, obviously. This was red. I'm just gonna pop that around, back around the red here. You can see how much I used of it. So I'm really looking forward to see if they come up nicely. They had sprouted a bit when I put them in. So I'm really looking forward for that. I hope they will look as gorgeous as they look on the photo. My mom-in-law was convinced that I bought too many to put in because I did buy a total of 6 bulbs. The downside with begonias is I will have to take them out in the winter because they do not like frost. And you need to keep them dry, dark, over winter, in a frost secure space. So I told her then I will want to use her. She has like a place where she stores her bike and so on in her new apartment complex, and that is probably more frost secure than the one I have. And the worst case is if I do forget them, they were €7 in total. So I just hope they come up and look nice. And then I hope it's not a flower that the snails will eat, because last year I planted first some tagetes. Tagetes is like, they call them Afrikaans. I'm going to see what they could be called in English. Give me a moment. Tagetes. Do we have them in English, please? English. Marigolds. Yes, it's a sort of marigolds. So I planted marigolds, and I had them in the front garden, also where I had the tulips, and I had them in the flower pot next to the door. Looked absolutely gorgeous for 2 to 3 days. After 2 to 3 days, they were all gone, done, dusted, and eaten by snails. This obviously I was not very happy, and then I replaced those with petunias. The petunias, well, they just never did as well as wanted, but the snails didn't eat them as quickly, but they did have some sort of tendency for them. So I hope the snails will not eat my begonias. Of course, I'll be crying if that's the case. Apple says last year my neighbor lost half a vegetable garden to deer eating. Oh yeah, that's also definitely an option. Not a good one. Susan says, I love flowers, but perennials are my favorite. I have hyacinths, daffodils blooming now. Yeah. I should have hyacinths between my tulips, but for some reason they have decided not to. Well, the leaves have come up, but I don't see any flower bulbs. Like, no flower buds at all. Sarah says, oh, we love marigolds. Rabbit don't care for them. Yeah, but apparently snails do, and they never have been an issue before. I've always been able to have marigolds. Marigolds is also ants doesn't like marigolds, which is perfect, right? Um, but I can tell you the snails ate my marigolds last year, and I do not know why. I've never seen that before. Like as if we had new type of invasive snail or something like that. They were like 35, 40 euros of marigolds were eaten in 3 days by snails. Like that's not why I bought them. I bought them for them to bring joy and pleasure because they look gorgeous, and not for the snails to eat them. That seemed a bit like a waste of money, so to say. So I was really upset actually. Susan says had success with marigolds and zinnias from seeds and pots. Plausible also. Put a dish of beef by your flowers, the snails will leave your flowers alone. Yeah, that could be an option, but we actually don't really have beer in house. It's just, yeah. Couldn't the snails go to the fields instead of my marigolds? And the fun thing is, I've never had the issue before, right? Like, it's never been an issue, but recently they have started to munch on flowers. Not sure why. One, two, three. Artball says, I only keep beer in the house to wash my dog with it after she fights with skunks. I've never heard using beer to wash dogs to prevent skunk odor before. That's a new one. Outsalt around your potted area, snails and slugs stay away. Yeah, I know as well. That's a good point. Um, or have something with copper in it. Slugs don't like copper at all. It's the same kind of with salt. Susan reminds us all it is hobby bingo, Sue. Yes, it is in 15 minutes time. And we talked about a bit earlier that I am trying to see if I can make a visit to the hobby store when I am going to Denmark. I will be in Denmark regularly the coming time, once a month at least. And some of it could very, very likely include a trip to hobby. Especially because the idea for me being in Denmark is to help bring my mom to her treatments, and that is in the city of the hobby. The hospital is 20 minutes walk away from the hobby, and the department prefers for relatives not to be in the area or be waiting with them due to infection possibilities and so on. And therefore, my thought was, because it's going to be like 3-hour treatments, I'll drop my mom and I'll go to hobby and try not to buy yarn, but I could give you guys a look at how the store looks in Roskilde. May buy yarn, but trying not to buy too much yarn. No, I do not need more yarn to add to my collection. That is very true. This is why we are trying to use some of it right now. It's going, I would say, good. Right now, at least. Beer works better than tomato juice for skunk stink. Okay, learned something new. And Sarah would love to see hubby. Well, I would love to see hubby too. I've only seen photos. Would be so cool to see in real life. Probably also because sometimes there are yarns where I'm like, oh, could this be something? But I don't know because, you know, I can't feel it. Now I will be able to feel it. Awesome thought. Super awesome thought. I am sold. But yeah, I do need not to buy yarn to add to my stash. That is true. I need to use up the yarn in my stash, which I am working very hard on right now. It is just a shame it doesn't count as a use gain because obviously it's like half left, I guess. I will have to check. Thank you for your prayers. Yes, I hope my mom's treatment goes well. So I do have some good news on that account. She had her first treatment last week. She is very tired of it. Probably the reason she's quite exhausted um, and lack of energy is due to that, which is not unlogic. But she has until today always had to remove 2 to 2.5 liters of liquid from her lungs every second to every third day. Basically, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then the weekend is an extra day. And when she's been in on Monday, they usually had to do like 2.5, like a bit more because she had an extra day. And today they only removed a bit more than about a liter. So it looks like maybe the chemotherapy is working a bit on the liquids in her lungs. And if that's the case, that would be really, really good. She would be really happy. Also, because a part of that um, affects her diet. As long as she has liquids in her lungs, she's not allowed to do a fatty diet, where ideally being treated for cancer, they recommend fatty diets. I'd have to buy a suitcase or two after I've visited hubby. Yeah, that would be my fear too. But I do have one benefit, I guess, is that I can leave stuff at my parents' in case I do end up buying stuff. But I probably the benefit of walking there is that it would be difficult for me to carry, so I can't buy more than I can carry. That was one more row. We are on 5, and I do believe like 12 or something like that in total. Give me a moment to count. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2. We need 12 in total. 7 more to go. Quite a bit. Quite a bit. And we just turned around. What we also need to do is to weave in some ends, I guess, at some stage. But it would be nice if there is no yarn ends in this white, like no factory knot, so to say. So I only have the 2 ends to weave in when I'm done. That would be really nice. Yes, please and thank you. I am not sure if I can reach to do the whole round, which I'm working on now. But I know for sure that we should be able to finish this one on Wednesday. And if able, I might see if I could come on a bit earlier Wednesday to ensure we finish it. 1, 2. But I'm just giving this a couple of more minutes. It is also hobby bingo in a few, obviously. If you do have a hobby app, why not participate? You might win at least 25 points for the point store. Don't try to ask me how many times you need to play bingo to actually get something for those points. But I guess it's the thought that matters, right? Oh, that. Double. So we can finish this Dutch one on Wednesday. Right now it is 7 minutes to 5. And I need to fix some dinner. And our dinner today will be some chicken thighs. They have been marinated. And gonna do some potatoes. Probably some carrots. I have plenty of carrots in the fridge still. And we have some tzatziki leftovers as well. So we will do the rest of the tzatziki that I made this weekend. I made a very nice, lovely fresh tzatziki, where I basically just do a good Greek yogurt, 10% Greek yogurt fat, and a cucumber grated down, and 1 or 2 cloves of garlic. And I mix it all together. Yummy. Susan has 4,150 hobby points. Just enough for a single skein of sock yarn. But probably not enough for 2 pairs of socks. I have enough to get some nice yarn. But I'm trying to wait using my hobby points for a bit. They won't expire for probably another year, some of my points, so maybe I'll get some next birthday, unless something other happens this year. And it also depends on, obviously, my yarn stash, because ideally I still need to decrease the size of that. And it's progressing, but right now overall it's probably increased a bit with the big yarn haul I did last week, I admit. But I'll have to check how much yarn I have left of that red one. I am curious. Oddball says making hamburgers and spring salad today. Susan said, I heard using points still requires shipping payments, so not really free. So yeah, I would combine mine with something I order where I would get free shipping. That's usually what I've done. But also now, with all the times that I will be close to one of the hobby stores, I could probably trade them in at the store itself. That might be an option. Sarah says, yum, we had roasted chicken thighs the other days, just rubbed it with dry seasoning, served with roasted carrots and Brussels sprouts. I'm definitely for the roasted carrots. Brussels sprouts is not a favorite thing of mine. I will eat them, but like once a year. And my partner would look at me and ask if I wanted to kill him by serving him Brussels sprouts, because he absolutely despises them. So that is why we generally don't do a Brussels sprouts, just because, well, then I keep the house peas by not boiling them, making them. And I'm not a big fan of them, so I don't have a big desire on eating them. And then it's easier just to omit them, if that makes sense. Yeah, we'll finish this row. We should finish this row. 1, 2, and 3. We skip 2. We do a single crochet, half double, double. And then we will work on this on Wednesday. Meanwhile, I can think about my future project, I guess. 1, 2. Nice. If you cover them with balsamic vinegar and Brussels sprouts, then Brussels sprouts are pretty good. That's good to know. That's good to know. I think the problem is last time I had Brussels sprouts, they were like boiled, so they were like mushy, like super mushy. And yeah, that's just not my thing. Appa says I roast them with Parmesan cheese. My family loves them. That's an option too. That is an option too. What I like is if you have it's like a pointy cabbage. I'm not really sure what it's called in English. And if you quarter them, half them or quarter them, then and you do a spoon of butter in a pot and just enough water to cover the butter, so it's like a buttery melt, and then you steam them in that water butter boil. That is nice. Sarah says, I won't boil them. Roasting or grilling is the way to go. And Oddballs agrees with Sarah. So I think maybe the issue is that I've always had them in the wrong way. And I don't know if that counts for my partner too, but I'm not sure if I can even convince him to taste them. But yeah, the few times I've had them, they've always been boiled to mush. And that is, I can tell you, not delicious. At least that is my optics of it. My goodness, that was round 6 and we need 12. So we are halfway on this. Well, a bit less given everything else. But I think that is not too bad. So I am gonna slip stitch this one together. Chain 1. I'm actually just gonna turn around and do the first, because then I kind of have started the row, but it's easier for me to know exactly where I'm like that. So that is what I'll do. And then I don't know how this sizing will be fitting me. So what we will do is I'm actually going to insert stitch marker and we'll have a look. What I might also do, given the fit is nice, weave in some ends before Wednesday. But this is kind of how we're looking now. It's also a bit like a basket if you keep it turned upside down. No, it's not an artish goat. I will see if I can actually find it. Know what it's named in Danish. Summer cabbage, someone says, but I'm not so sure either if that's the right word. So let's first do back to me up here and have a quick look at how this hat looks on me. So you should still be able to hear me, just a bit more distant maybe with my headset laying down here and microphone. It looks silly, but it will help when it's had 6 more rows here. And actually, I think I only need 5 because then I need to do a single row of the blue before I start doing the brim. And that's the idea of this, because that is Dutch inspired. So I think I made a good start on this, definitely. And we will continue on this on Wednesday. That is the plan. We'll be working on it Wednesday, continuing on it. So I think I can weave in those ends just to play it safe. And then I don't need to look at them next time. So I can do that for Wednesday. I think that's fair enough. So what I want to do is I want to swap over to this skull cap. Good start. Looks great. Looks like the start of a Santa hat right now. Yeah, kind of does actually. I will do like this. This is the cabbage I'm talking about. I'm not sure what it's called in English, but it's like looking like this. It's pointy, but it is like a cabbage, like a white cabbage or a red cabbage, but it's a cabbage that's intentionally growing like this. And the best you can do is basically you have the example here. It's they're steamed here, and they are very delicious together with like a fish or just fresh salad in general. They also make some really nice fresh summer cabbage salads, actually. I don't know what it's in English. Could I guess do translate? See what it says if it has a good suggestion. It is pointed cabbage. If that is a thing, I don't know. Pointed cabbage salad, even. Yeah, it is pointed cabbage. There you go. Pointed cabbage, or sugarloaf cabbage, some even call them. We learned something. We learned something. But they are really tasty. If you ever get into those cabbages, they're really nice. And if you steam those, they're really nice together with, like, if you do a side of fish um, or just generally you want to do something more fresh. They're quite nice. Can warmly recommend. If you ever dump into a pointed cabbage, good question. Let's see if there is a Wikipedia on it. Should page Wiki. Also known as cone or sweetheart Hipsy sugarloaf cabbage. It's a form of cabbage which tapering shape, delicate various leaf, blah blah blah. It's earliest cabbage grown sale in the UK from May to November, Spain from November to April, Northern Bohemia, so it's European by the sound of it. It's quite European, but it's nice. So if you ever bump into that type of cabbage, I can warmly recommend. But it sounds like it's a European one, like UK, European. We have them in the Netherlands too. They're nice. So yeah, warmly recommend. Tariffs, yeah. But in 4 years, I guess the tariffs will be gone before then. Maybe. I don't know. Because when it comes to tariffs, the consumer is paying. Remember that. The consumer is paying, not the government. It includes me as well. And I have a small business where I actually do import things from the US. And trust me, I'm really happy I got the import done before the tariffs were official. So they're all here. No tariffs imposed. Thank God. That is good for me because I can still eventually up the prices as if I still had them. And that would be an extra profit for me should I do so. So thank God. We need to be happy for the smallest of details. Ladies, if you haven't joined the Hobby Bingo, it is full running right now. I am going to say thank you so much for hanging out with me today because it is past 5 p.m. and I need to clean up this table so that we can actually manage to get some dinner served in a half an hour. And he needs to get done on time because he has an appointment tonight with my in-law. On behalf of half the US, sorry about the mad orange man. Yeah, thank you very much. It's not your fault though. Yeah, there's not much to do about it except we'll be patient and maybe if he's unpopular enough, who knows, an early election. We could cross our fingers. Um, Thank you for your kind wishes. It was absolutely amazing spending time with you guys. I'm looking forward to continue on this hat on Wednesday. I will try to be on around the same time as normally, maybe a bit earlier. It depends on how things go here. But yeah, 8 a.m. Eastern, I should definitely be around. I was 10 minutes late today, but we're fixing a few things, and that is why I was late. Um, but I expect us to be able to finish that hat on next live. So yeah, let's do that. So if you're rewatching this live and you have gotten so far, thank you very much. I very much appreciate it. Trust me, it means the world to me, and it is a great support. So I'm going to say thank you, take care, and happy crafting, and I'll see you on Wednesday. Bye.